AI is going to take your job. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you enjoyed our new test intro. That may not always be there, but for now it is, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, please let me know. But I hope you guys also enjoyed our looks maxing video. Now, I wasn't intending on doing that this early on in the channel. I figured I'd do that a little bit further on in the future. However, there was a big event where Clavicular and a lot of other people kind of in his orbit got together, and there was this big ruckus down in Miami. And I don't want this to be a news channel at the moment, at least. So that's why I didn't mention the getting kicked out of the Miami club or the fact that there are big callings to have them literally banned from Miami. But I wanted to get something that was more topical. And I know I was a little bit behind by about a week, but I wanted to stick to my schedule. But I also hope you enjoyed our most recent 7 Deadly Sins of Debate episode with Dean Withers and Parker. If you haven't seen that, please go check it out. And the rest of them, they're pretty fun, they're pretty interesting, and I go in depth with why I think some of their debate strategies are not good for debate and why they're not good for us as a country. In this episode, we're going to be going into if AI will take your job. And well, I'll be honest with you, it's going to take some people's jobs. But I'll get more into that, more in depth in a little bit. I want to say thank you to everyone that has subscribed and liked and interacted on my posts so far. I've gotten a pretty good amount of interaction for the fact that I have like 8 subscribers, excuse me. And hey, at least 2 of them aren't my mom or my girlfriend or myself. So that's awesome. I'm really happy to say that. So we are getting to the big leagues, of course. But thank you to all of you that have interacted. Thank you for those of you that mention different things beneath my posts saying, hey, maybe you didn't think about this, or hey, maybe you should look at that. I do really appreciate the feedback, and I try my best to get, stuff into my videos, get the proper research and things, but there is so much out there that is very hard to all encompass every single topic that I've talked about. But today, let's get into AI taking your job. And I'll start off with this clip from an interview with Tucker Carlson from Sam Altman.
But there's going to be massive displacement, and maybe those people will find something new and interesting and lucrative to do. But how big is that displacement, do you think?
Someone told me recently that the historical average is about 50% of jobs significantly change. Maybe they don't totally go away, but significantly change every 75 years on average. That's the half-life of the stuff. And my controversial take would be that this is going to be like a punctuated equilibrium moment where a lot of that will happen in a short period of time. But if we zoom out, it's not going to be dramatically different than the historical rate. Like we'll have a lot in this short period of time, and then it'll somehow be less total job turnover than we think. There will still be a job that is, there will be some totally new categories, like my job, like, running a tech company. It would have been hard to think about 200 years ago. But there's a lot of other jobs that are directionally similar to jobs that did exist 200 years ago, and there's jobs that were common 200 years ago that now aren't. And if we, again, I have no idea if this is true or not, but I'll use the number for the sake of argument. If we assume it's 50% turnover every 75 years, then I could totally believe a world where 75 years from now, half the people are doing something totally new.
Before we go any further, if you did not know, Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, and OpenAI is the company that brings out a lot of different AI, different products and tools, namely ChatGPT. But let's look further into what he said. When new technology is introduced, the workforces tend to change, and they tend to change quite dramatically. Look at a real-life example, one that I think most people can grasp quite easily. Remember back in the day, way before we had cars, we used to have horses and buggies. But when cars began to be mass adopted, horses and buggies tended to go out of the needed group of things that people every single day would need. That put a lot of people out of work. And I say horses and buggies, but basically any animal that can pull a buggy or something heavy behind them were also impacted by this. Remember, like the game, the Oregon Trail, you had oxen pulling the buggy. Well, the breeders of oxen were put out of at least a lot of their work. Same thing with the horse breeders. And same thing with the people that made the buggies themselves. And if we look further down the timeline, what about when the Ford company introduced the assembly line? We see that the hyper skilled artisans that used to work on the cars, depending on what part of the process it was in, were largely replaced with more lower scale people and laborers. That put a lot of people out of jobs. The adoption of cars is only one example in the grand scheme of things. We also see that nowadays with different types of coding, with the adoption of AI. But before we got to AI, there were also other computer programs and different kind of machine learning. Now, I don't want to get super far into what AI is in this video, as there might be a video in the future where I talk about just AI in general and not just AI taking your jobs. But there are different tools that have always had machine learning and have allowed you to work towards a goal with limiting the amount of effort and, I guess, stress that the human person using that tool would actually be able would actually need to put into these different tasks. But there are certain types of jobs that Altman really thinks are going to be impacted more than others. And I will let him be the one that says that, and then we can explore a little bit more in a few moments.
Who loses their jobs because of this technology?
I'll caveat this with the obvious but important statement that no one can predict the future.
Right, I
and
agree.
I will, in trying to, if I try to answer that precisely, I will say like a lot of dumb things, but I'll try to pick an area that I'm confident about and then areas that I'm much less confident about. I'm confident that a lot of current customer support that happens over a phone or computer, those people will lose their jobs, and that'll be better done by an AI. Now, there may be other kinds of customer support where you really want to know it's the right person. A job that I'm confident will not be that impacted is like nurses. I think people really want the deep human connection.
It appears that Sam Altman is talking about the importance of the human. Certain jobs and professions rely so much on the interaction between the person and their clients that it would not be able to be replaced with AI. Do you really think DrBot 3000 is really going to feel the same as a actual doctor in the room with you? Someone that can sympathize with you, feel the same emotions as you, or at least come close to understanding what you're going through? A robot cannot do that. No AI will be able to do that. Now, there are some things that are nice about AI, and if it gets widespread adopted. You may notice I look a little bit different than earlier. My hair might be sitting different, and I do sound different. I just got a microphone from Amazon delivered, and I spent all that time trying to figure out how to set it up, and if it still sounds poor, I apologize, but that's just how it's going to be for the rest of this video. If my delivery driver got replaced with AI, as Amazon is talking about doing, and so is Tesla, they are promising a humanoid robot. I would be sad if my delivery driver got replaced with AI, as he may not be able to support himself or his family if he got replaced. But if we're able to move him to a different role, such as keeping up with the maintenance of these humanoid robots, or having him be someone that quality checks them as they deliver, and say he's just sitting in the seat next to them, I would be more okay with that. For the main reason that the human is important. There are certain jobs that we may think to each other that, a person really shouldn't need to do that. And some of that is true. Do I really want someone breaking their back lifting 40 to 50 pound boxes every hour of every single day for a week? Every week? For 30 years? Well, no, not really. If we're able to have something that could assist them, there are certain jobs that even have kind of like the bionic, like, bodysuits that help you carry things, which I think is kind of interesting. But AI helps us a lot every single day. And it's not just AI, but it's also robots. We've kind of gotten to the point where people think they're one and the same, but they're not. For example, I used to work at Walmart. We had a sorter that would help us unload the trucks and sort them to where it was supposed to go. That sorter was the dumbest thing I think I've ever saw because of how many times it had screwed up. But it still made our lives a significant amount easier, and it allowed us to get the products out on the shelves quicker. Everybody wants the convenience of it. And I talked about Amazon. Amazon already has AI in their different shipping methods, how they're packing and sorting things. And some places even have automated kind of bin goer tours. I'm not exactly sure how to say it, but robots will go to the bins where the products are stored because they're obviously not just all sitting together in a giant clump that they need to dig through every single day. They go to those bins and automatically grab the product that you're buying. And then that allows them to load it on the truck almost immediately, and then it will make it so you can get them within a day or two, which is one of the greatest things that has happened in the most modern times. Because who doesn't want their things to show up in 2 days? Why would I order something that shows up in a week or two when I can go to Amazon and get it in 2 days? Sure, it may cost $1 or two more, but the thing is I can get it in 2 days. 2 days, as opposed to a week or two that we would be in without that certain type of sorting and automated processes. We also look to one of the jobs that Altman said would likely go away, the customer service jobs. And you may be thinking, well, what does that mean? There's currently a company called Salesforce. I don't know if you ever saw them before. They actually ran an ad during the Super Bowl last year, and I thought it was pretty cool. Looking, at least. I will admit I've invested in that company, and I've since sold my share because it never goes up. It always goes down, it never goes up. But what Salesforce does is it offers the AI chatbots. If a company or a business is kind of in contract with Salesforce, they are able to use the chatbot. And it has been reported that over 90% of inquiries to the chatbot is resolved without moving up the chain and accelerating it to an actual customer service representative, which is massive for the efficiency of the businesses and for the cost efficiency of the businesses. You can work faster and save money, which is a crazy combination for most people. What the bad thing is you no longer have as many people on the phone answering. Now, some people say it's a good thing, so it's not a person that you don't understand, but it's also kind of a good thing for the people that work there, as they're not getting harassed by unhappy customers. But at the end of the day, should you be scared? Well, I'll be honest, I'll give you my own take on how I feel. I am in law school right now. If you didn't know that, that's also in my disclaimer video if you haven't seen that. I'm in law school right now. I think it's very important that I am aware of what AI is doing. AI is being implemented in the criminal justice system, which is the system that I intend on working in after I'm done with school and the bar. And it's very important because there are certain things that we need to understand kind of as a society. You aren't going to LawyerBot 9000 for most circumstances. There are a lot of different chat robots that can help you with legal advice, but we don't adopt them yet because there is a little thing called compassion for people. A AI bot may look at someone and say that they're likely to reoffend solely because of what neighborhood they're in. More likely to reoffend in the future. Now that's kind of crazy. We don't know anything about this person besides where they're from and what crime they committed. And I think it's very scary that people think that it is going to replace them, and it actually seems like we may be heading in that direction. And I took a class on this. This is my book from the class. We also had some other reading, so it wasn't just a little book. I promise you I'm wasting so much more money on books for law school than just the $30 one off of Amazon, which showed up in 2 days because of the power of AI and automation. But this is real. It is happening. And we need to prepare for it. Just like my parents said that I wouldn't have a calculator in my pocket, I now have access to the world in the palm of my hand. Now, we should prepare for the future with AI. It's going to happen. It is not stopping now, and it can help humanity significantly. Will some jobs be lost? Of course they will be. Same thing with the buggy builders and the horse breeders that we talked about earlier. The buggy builders had to transition into a new job. They could build, I don't know, trailers to go behind the new vehicles. The horse breeders could change who their primary customers were, or they could change into a different type of, I don't know, buying and selling of animals. They had to adapt, and so will we. Altman believes that this will be a very large change that could change things a lot more rapidly that other kind of innovations and technology have. And I would agree with that. Altman is one of the people, he claims that he hasn't slept right since ChatGPT had launched. And that's because AI is a very powerful thing. If we use it properly, it will help us. If we use it to solely eliminate jobs, those businesses probably won't work out because people care about the person. People care that there was somebody involved with it. And even small little things such as 3D printing files. I just got a 3D printer for Christmas and I look to print new things. There's a filter on almost every website that I have saw that is able to filter out AI generated STL files, which is kind of crazy. Most people wouldn't even think that that would be something that they would rule out, but a lot of people care about the person. Same thing with art, same thing with food. I'm sure that there's going to be autonomous food makers in the future. I'm sure that there's going to be autonomous completely drivers because there already is. Now, it's not as widespread adopted as like how we adopted the automobile right now. Give it time. It will happen. And we need to be better prepared for a future with it than try to kick, scream, and scratch our way back to a time before AI existed. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a little scary that things will be changing in the workforce, but it is something that will give us great opportunity as well. I hope you join us for our 7 Deadly Sins of Debate episode that will show up later on this week on Thursday, and I hope to see you there, and have a great day.